What's going on, man? It's your boy Ray Rock, and you just hit my YouTube where we rate rhymes and geek out on the latest beat production. It is April 8th, and I'm with a special guest. Wait a second. He's a fellow vintage wrestling enthusiast.
Right.
Love the movie Hook. Multi-award winning singer, songwriter, rapper. Make some noise for April.
You gotta put some wrestling audio in there.
What's going on, man?
Chilling, man. I'm in the house, like the rest of the world. And yeah, me and my wife just went for a walk. We kind of do this like nightly walk, try to keep ourselves sane a little bit. But yeah, man, trying to stay busy.
Oh man, I feel you, man. Man, let's just get right into this, man. Speaking of taking a walk, what are your quarantine snacks? Like, what are like your 3 top snacks to have while you're in this time?
Snacks? Oh my God, I'm having so much popcorn. Popcorn's a go-to for me right now. There's like this bag we bought. It's like sweet and savory. I don't know what it is. It's a kettle corn. Also, I like to eat booty.
Bottom.
We went to Costco. We did like a $500 run, and it got wild. So we got a pirate's booty bag, like, you know, basically up to my waist. And then the other one is dried mango.
Oh, the Trader Joe joint, or like, or from like
It's Costco, man. The joint is, you know, that bag is also the size of my torso. It's enormous.
Man, yo, that's a great snack. You know, it's like, especially if you're trying to like, you know, watch your weight. It's a good like sweet delight to have, you know, while you're trying to like, you know, get right. Because I know you be trying to get right?
Always. You know, I go by the nickname of Post-Ray Poppy, Dessert Daddy. So, you know, I'm a kid with a sweet tooth, and I got to figure out ways to have my sweets, but without expanding horizontally.
Yeah, man. So, I mean, where does this infatuation, you know, just to move on and get some more information about you, where does this infatuation with wrestling come from for you?
I was just growing up as a kid, man. Like, you know, you would catch it on TV, and I don't think anything caught my eye more than like big ripped dudes who are like throwing each other off of rings, you know, and hitting each other in the head with chairs and going through tables, like, and they got like cool outfits on and they got cool theme music. Like, it's basically soap operas for men. Like, how do you not know?
That's a great way. That's a good way to put it. I mean, what better thing there is than to body slam somebody and get a cool belt for it?
Yeah, there's belts. There's like, I mean, what are you gonna do, man? And then they were so animated. They had these funny storylines. So it just, you know, the stories captivated me. And then obviously it turned into like me and all my friends like wrestling, like in the house and jumping off of the sofa and doing elbow drops and breaking stuff. Like, it's just a part of my childhood.
Yeah. If there was one wrestler in particular, like one wrestler that you would wanna emulate, like if you could play his role, right? Like it doesn't have to be like Hulk Hogan or somebody like the most famous.
Yeah.
But someone that you feel like, man, I would have fun playing that person role. Who would it be?
Probably Macho Man Randy Savage. Yeah. Oh yeah. That guy was just giving elbow drops. He also had the crazy outfit, like the joints they would just hang off the shoulder. He had the crazy hats and glitter, like.
Yo, my man had mad bike tassels all over him.
Tassels, my man had mad tassels. So, you know, that dude's character was just insane. I loved him.
Yeah, man. He was, and like I felt like he had like some like classic like moments where like on TV, like for commercial, when he would like break down a wall and just like flip it to a Slim Jim. Ooh.
Yeah, remember the Slim Jim commercials? An icon.
Yeah, man. And his rivalry against like friends turned enemies, you know, like with Hulk Hogan was just incredible.
Right.
Yeah. You know, someone who I really enjoy, but I just wouldn't want to to play his role, because it's just everything looks like it hurts. It's Axel Foley, you know what I'm saying? It's
Axel Foley,
yeah. It's like, Mr. Sacco,
Yeah. So Nick Foley had, what do you have? Mick Foley, Dude,
Cactus,
Cactus Jack, Mick
yeah.
Foley, Mankind, and then Dude Love.
Dude Love. Wow, I forgot about that one.
The man of many faces.
Yeah, man. And so, just because I know you personally, so some of these questions for me are like, I just love just even hearing you just talk about them over.
Yeah.
For everybody to get what I get on a one-on-one. This whole, like, you have many pieces of music and articles of clothing. I like the fact that you're in Cali somewhere right now.
Yeah.
I love how your bottom is like missing. It's amazing.
I'm just out here on the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, you out here in the Golden Gate Bridge. Let me just hit you with the outer space.
Yeah, there you go. Outer space, the Golden Gate, baby.
Yeah, man. So it seems like you have a lot of a lot of songs, a lot of material that you promote with this whole Peter Pan concept. You have like Neverland, and then you have the Neverland series.
Yeah.
What about this movie Hook? Are you just like a Peter Pan fan in general, or it was what was it?
Yeah, I think that's the start of it. Is I was just a big fan of that movie. I watched it, over and over and over again as a kid, but also as I got older, the themes of that movie stuck with me, which was essentially never grow up, right? Like that was the theme. And I think that's kind of like a pursuit for my own life, is like never quote unquote grow up. And by growing up, I mean just losing that sense of childlikeness, like childlike awe, curiosity, fun, creativity, like I think when we start to lose that, we lose a part of ourselves that was so pure, our child version of ourselves. And so I think it's important for people to try and keep that intact. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. It's even evident here on this call, like how how you just put the Golden Gate Bridge back there, and you just pull it out of me. I'm about to have a coconut.
Yeah, about to just make a coconut.
Oh, I think I lost you there. The guy, my man got so hooked into the virtual backgrounds that he got himself in the back. He's got himself in the back. I love it.
Wow, this is wild. Would you look at that?
With that being said, the whole theme of that movie was, just never losing that true essence of who we are as people.
Right.
Kind of feel like when we grow up, responsibility hits us. You have the opinions of others. You have the opinions of you also have standards that are just, some of them are realistic, and some of them just, even though they're realistic, they kind of fight against what you're trying to do and how you're trying to find yourself, in a certain media or a certain thing that someone does.
Yeah.
And so, my goal with interviewing you is to basically do what we're trying to do, is basically where we rate rhymes, you know what I mean, and talk about the latest in production. And and I just want to talk about your process. You talk to me about it a lot. Your process in writing music. What's the Andy Mineo short form formula?
Man, I'm trying to create stuff that I'm trying to create inspired work is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
So not just creating work that is just purely for consumption on a like you know, just crank it out, just give people, you know, oh, that formula worked, do that again. Like I'm actually trying to pull something out that's inspiring to me, that's true to me, that's nostalgic to me. And I think, you know, somebody said this to me one time and they were like, yo, really good songs have a couple of things going on. And one of them, or three of them, is that they're simple. So I've done that in my time creating art, where I've made things very complicated and want to switch everything and have, like, I end up realizing I'm doing too much to the song. I'm actually ruining it by trying to add too much seasoning. So there's a beauty in simplicity. Make it singable, like, or memorable. And so I'm always trying to find things that like could stick with people. You know, like, what's that phrase that pays? What's that thing that I'm saying that is like the interesting lyric that you can hold on to? And sincere. So simple, singable, sincere. Those are usually good guidelines for me to like create something good. It always has to be sincere. I think that's why it's so hard for me to write, because like I have to really tap in and find something that's really true to me to say. And because I can make words rhyme for days. Like I can make 1,000,000 raps, but will they be really true, something from my heart? You know, you gotta spend the time to pull out what's real with you and resonates with you. Because I know that, like, in a lot of ways, we live and die by these words. Like, people are gonna remember me by this in a lot of ways, the stuff I said on record.
You know, it's every time you share that. For me, I know people that are gonna watch this, they're gonna feel exactly how I feel. Like, wow, like that is so clear and so simple. Thank you so much. You know what I mean? And like, and from listening to you, from just like hearing you out and just being around you, I've been able to like, and other creatives as well, I've been able to figure out one thing that happens with everyone in a sense that is interesting. It's kind of like, you know, you basically are your initial observations. You know what I mean? So like, you know, the music that a lot of my friends that they make that I feel like is great is like they're first of all, as a creative, they're observing the world like no one else. You know, I've seen you observe things that I necessarily would never observe. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. I've been to, and I'm sure tons of people who are watching this I've been to an Applebee's, I've been to a TGIF Fridays, I've been to a fajita place and stuff like that. And I've been around the phrase just as much as everybody else has, coming in hot. That is a common phrase that is used in those atmospheres, right? But while I'm eating, right, for some reason, right, and this is what I've learned from you is your gifting is always on. You never turn it off. You know what I'm saying? And you'll be in an environment and you'll be like, did you hear that? You know what I'm saying? Or like, yo, that's dope right there. Where the general public or the general person will just laugh at something and just let it go. So can you tell people about how Coming in Hot came about? Because for me, it was just right there. And I'm not saying I would never, but I just didn't think of synthesizing such a cool.
Yeah. Just, I think when you make art for a living, like you're constantly, you're able to spot things, or you're trying to, that are inspiring or cool or interesting. Like, and you realize that in a lot of ways you can pull those experiences or those things into something, you know? And so that's what artists do, is they tap into what they're feeling and then they're able to communicate it. And other people appreciate it because most people don't pay attention to how they're feeling. So if you can provide me with a feeling because you did the hard work of feeling something and creating something, then, you know, now that can become my soundtrack. So I think, you know, it's also just like you start looking for things when your mind is in that zone. Mm-hmm. So like recently I really got into Broncos, like the trucks. I started seeing, like, I saw one on the street. It's actually an International Scout. It's like a old school truck, like pickup truck from like 1974. It's beautiful. And I started texting my friends like, yo, what is this car? This is so fire. And then it led me down this path of like all these old school pickup trucks. And so the Bronco has just become like, I'm infatuated with the thing right now. Here's the thing. I'm noticing Broncos everywhere now. Like everywhere I go, I'm like, oh, there it is. That's a 1974 Bronco. Did you read the paint job? Like, but I probably went by a million Broncos before in my life. It's just now that I'm paying attention and now that I'm interested in that, those things pop out to me. So in that way, when you start thinking like, yo, look around, there's things here that you can pull from, your mind kind of gets tuned into that. And so that record specifically, I was on tour. I think it was the Magic and Bird tour. And John, or the Friends and Family tour, which was on the Magic and Bird album cycle. John, he's from the Navy, and like we were out, or he was in the Navy for a while. We went to go see like a ship, and like we had to walk through this one area where like you had to duck down. He's like, "Whoa, coming in hot," you know, and he would just say these little phrases, and we would all crack up. And I thought, I was like, "Yo, I should use that." Hearing John say it. And so I had we had a tour coming up, me and Lecrae, and we were like, yo, we should drop a song together for the tour. So we booked a studio session in LA because we were both in LA at the time, or somewhere in California. I don't think it was LA. And I had like this list of phrases that could be a hook. And so I came in and then a handful of beats. And so we played a beat, like 4 or 5 different beats. And we were like, all right, this beat is going to be too expensive. This beat, we don't got a good relationship with that producer right now. You know, what about this beat? And so we just started the elimination process. And Lecrae really liked this one beat where I stopped passe. And I was like, cool. So I got this little mumble on there. And all it was coming in hot. That's all it was. And he loved that. So we took it, and I just took the mumbles and the coming in hot, and we developed it out. Then I remember you and I went on tour out in Europe, and as we were jumping from, because I couldn't finish my verse that night. Like, I'm not a guy that can just sit there and just like write a verse in 10 minutes and be like, all right, that's it. Like, I sit with my bars and my cadences and I tweak them, and it takes me like a week sometimes just to do a verse. So we were in Europe, and I brought all my recording equipment. We were jumping from hotel to hotel and country to country, and I'd set it up, and I would record a piece of it there. Then we break down, we fly to the next city, the next country, do a show. I set up in there. And so you were there when I recorded the whole thing, you know, so you could probably even tell some stories from seeing that. But that verse probably had 5 or 6 different cadences, had some bars that didn't make it that were there. You know, and that was just the process of me making that record. It ended up being a really cool record. It's done really well for me. It got synced a bunch of times. And that was a good example of a record that had that sticky phrase that was like, oh, we could use this in a lot of things. Sports and dance routines and all that stuff. And it was true to me because it was like, it was connected to my friend John, and it was funny to us. And, you know, so that's why it was sincere, because it was something I really liked, you know.
Yeah, man. I mean, just, you know, just having the privilege just to be around you, I've learned to always keep my ears open, you know. So like every time you say something, I'll write it down. You know, you say like, you know, that's a phrase that pays. You know, you'll say that's an unforgettable melody. You know, and then being with others, you know, like, you know, in a control room where people are pushing a singer for an incredible performance, has made me like put together this little sheet to help people with what they do. You know what I mean? It's part of the reason why I started this channel, and the reason why, you know, I had you tell everybody how you did coming in hot is because, you know, that phrase, you know, it's so around people who just go out to eat, but they take for granted, because like you said, when you are working and your gifting is being worked on, it's like this antenna is up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So one of the hardest things I believe when people come down to write music, you know, it's like they sometimes they start with a concept. You know, there's no wrong way of writing music, but I notice where we shoot ourselves in the foot a lot of times is when we just start so concept driven and not just take a moment just to appreciate the things that are around us. You know, I remember speaking to Glenn Belief, and they wrote a song, "I Got the Juice," you know?
Yeah.
And that whole song just came about because Theo lost his juice box and he was like, "I got the juice, man," you know? And that's how the hook was written, you know? And just making those observations and relating these observations to your gifting, and then just going for some type of synthesis, just going for a level of creativity. So like I show people, I'm going to share my screen and show people this this little sheet that you can download on my website for free just by subscribing. And this is it right here. And right now, like the thing that Andy's been speaking the most on is the phrase that pays in an unforgettable melody. And I'm just going to go down here and just show you the definitions that I have here just by being around these great songwriters. A phrase that pays, it has to be true today and 1,000 years from now. It has to be easily said in conversation. So for example, with your song, "You Can't Stop Me," right? From now to 1,000 years from now, people are going to get in some competitiveness, okay? And it's going to be true. Someone's going to say, "Man, you can't hold me," or "You can't stop me." It's going to be true, okay? And it's easy to say, you know what I mean? Like, "You can't stop me," right?
Right.
I'm coming in hot, right? And then you said, you know, a catchy melody. And, you know, and a catchy melody is infectious and can be repeated after one listen. And my favorite thing about coming in hot is the fact that I can hear it once, right? And I can just repeat it right back. You know, even if I don't know all the words, all I know is if I heard it once, it would be like, "I'm coming in hot." You know what I'm saying? Like,
right.
Or "You can't stop me." You know what I'm saying? It's so easily repeated. You know, some of my favorite jingles, you know, like McDonald's, "Ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving it." You know what I'm saying? Like, you hear it once. You know, shout out to Pharrell and
Was it Pusha T?
Pusha T, yes. Pharrell and Pusha T, who wrote it, who wrote the Pusha T came up with the phrase "I'm loving it," and Pharrell wrote the melody, and they had Justin Timberlake cut it, which is like, you know, a triple threat when you think about it.
Super thanks.
So yeah, man. I know I don't have
But you also got to remember this too. There's also phrases that break. You know, I think these are good guidelines, but there's also like the outliers, the things that, like, you know, the phrase that ends up being super big is just like a weird phrase that like maybe you've never heard before. So, but it just sticks because it's like, man, I don't know what that means. I just want to say it. So there's songs like that too, like shimmy, shimmy, y'all, shimmy, yeah. You know, it's like that doesn't even mean anything. It just feels good. They're like tutti frutti. It's like there's no meaning to it, but it's a phrase that's so interesting and sticky and memorable that like people want to say it. Hotline Bling, you know, like
Hotline Bling. It's catchy, and you know, for me, I feel like the melody is what's doing most of the work.
That's right.
And so
that's right.
So it's like if it's not gonna be like something that means anything, you know what I'm saying? It has to be fun to say. It has to be infectious to say, right? So For example, like Bon Jovi, you know, living on a prayer. From, you know, 1,000 years from now, there's going to be somebody living paycheck to paycheck or living on a prayer.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But what makes living on a prayer amazing is the whoa. Like if it was just living on a prayer, living on a prayer, it would be trash. But it's the whoa. You know what I'm saying? It's the whoa. It's the
I'm probably not going to say whoa in conversation, but it works really well on the record. So that's what I'm saying is like that's a great guideline for people, and also don't just feel stuck to that. Like sometimes your lingo that you have with your friends, sometimes, you know, these just like interesting things that you hear a baby do or like grandma say or whatever could be the stuff that you pull from as well.
Right. So you can pull from anything. Just to stay observant, you know, and that's what I've learned from you is to always observe, you know, if you really, you know, one of the things you said is that, you know, when you make music for a living, you're always looking for things that work. And so like one of the best ways to make this your living or make songwriting your living is to treat it that way. You know what I'm saying? It's to act like, you know, you're always looking for what's the next thing, right?
Right. Yeah, and I think there's like it's an interesting thing because songwriting, there's like such a pureness to it that's like these are just words from my heart, and then there's also there can be like a sleaziness to songwriting where people are just like, I'm just trying to make the biggest hit, you know. Yep. And there's a balance. So what I always try to encourage people to do is like just be aware of the difference, like be aware of that, and to in order to stay away from any of that conversations, be like, I'm not trying to make the biggest thing, I'm just trying to make the most sincere thing, you know, speak from the heart. And sometimes the most sincere thing can be the biggest thing. You know, you never know. There's no real formula that's gonna make it work. If that was the case, then, you know, everybody would just have a hit record, you know, but that isn't. And so these are like really helpful things to be aware of, but I hope people never feel trapped by that, like that they have to follow these guidelines in order to have a good song. You know, it's just not true. I think what you're saying is the most important thing, is to stay observant and to speak what is speaking to you and communicate that in an honest way. I was gonna say something else and I completely, the thing you said about artists, like artists observe, and most of the time the job of an artist is to put something in front of you and say, like, look at it this way. Like, artists often just take something else and they're like, but look at it now. I want to give you a different angle. You know, you think about like Andy Warhol or something, and he had like the Brillo pads or the Campbell's soup can. Like, these are just regular things that were in people's house. And he was like, oh, normally you're used to looking at it underneath like your sink. I'm going to make it into a piece of wall art. Look at it like that now and tell me if that makes you feel anything. And you're like, dang, I never would have seen it that way unless you put it up here and did that. And so there's a fun and a creativity and explorative nature to creating that. Like, I hope that becomes a driving factor for people, is like the fun of exploring and creating, not just like, how do I formulaically make something that'll make people like me? You know what I mean? It's like,
yeah, you know, like, there's no such thing as like a formula that will give you a smash hit, you know, like, and this is why I like conversations, because, you know, when you have conversations with other creatives, you get to glean, you know what I mean, a certain level of inspiration that will be like a guide, but it won't be the step by step. You know, I don't think that step by step for a hit record. You know what I mean?
You talk a lot about it. It's like it needs the spirit, and like it needs not just technique but spirit and inspiration.
It does need spirit, you know. And there's in the spirit, you know what I mean, is, you know, for all those out there, we don't mean like a spirit like woo, you know what I'm saying? But it's just a mindset, you know, that is connected to your emotions, right? you know, the way you observe the world is special, you know, and you see the world in a unique way. And then when you spend time with others, they challenge the way you see the world.
That's right.
And the more you learn about the way other people see the world, the greater your worldview starts to grow, right? And the more perspective you have, and the more times you see. I mean, how many times have we seen a Nike swoosh sign? But, you know, lately, it's incredible how we've seen it backwards or flip upside down, you know.
That's right.
And the positioning of it is what makes it look amazing, you know. I've seen you, Andy, countless hours, you know, make a product, you know, that costs you money just to see how it would look, and just to say, you know what, we're not going to release this because this hit right here is too small. You know what I mean? We might have to do another run because, you know, on the laptop, it looked good, but in person, it needs to be a little bigger or a little smaller, or it needs to be moved a little bit to the left or to the right. You know? Yeah, man. Well, Andy, I really appreciate, man, you taking the time just to come out here and just talk to everybody about your perspective. You know what I mean? The last part, the last question I had for you, which could be said real short and sweet, is so right here, you know, on my channel, we rate rhymes, and we geek out on beat production and stuff like that. And we know that, you know, you're a producer, you know, as well. And what are 3 plugins that you cannot live without? Like, if everything was to shut down, right, and you could only use 3 plugins, what would those 3 plugins be?
Yeah. So I would probably pick things that would give me a lot of versatility. And if we're talking about producing, which is like creating sounds, man, I'd have to go with the Sound Toys bundle. That has like some of my favorites in there, like Decapitator, Crystallizer, Echo Boy, you know, Devil Lock, like all those that are in there. They just, like, distortion is such a piece of my creativity that I couldn't go without that bundle. One I use a lot too is Omnisphere. Just that, you know, has so many weird and crazy sounds in there, and like you can bounce them and then create your own files and pitch them down, and you know, it creates so much inspiration because they're not just giving you a flat sound, they're giving you sounds with texture and weird things they already added to them, and you can control those parameters. And then I also use, what else do I use a lot? Wish I had my computer in front of me so I could just scroll through. I use a little Alter Boy, which is in that Sound Toys thing, like on everything, just to mess with things to form it. Probably the AVOX stuff, Antares. So I use like the auto tune in there. I use the doubler, the duo that like pans vocals out and makes them weird. The mutator, the harmony engine in there. So the Antares bundle, AVOX, Sound Toys bundle, and probably Omnisphere. And those will give me a lot of things to create with.
Yeah, man, you heard it here. You know, like, you got the tools. There's no secrets here. You know, and believe it or not, y'all, you know, you can have all those tools, but it's the mind, it's the hands behind the tool. Yeah. But just in case you had those questions, you know, there you go. You know, you got you have the Sound Toys bundle, you have the Antares bundle, and you have Omnisphere. Well, guys, thank you so much for having me here, having Andy here. You know, it's kind of like one of my first interviews, so appreciate you guys for your time. Andy, we out, man.
Yeah, man. Next time we'll have to do a screen share, and I'll show you how I'm like freaking out vocals and creating my own samples and stuff too.
Oh man, love that.
Yeah, we'll do another one. Love you, man.
Peace.